Okay, so yesterday we read Sheila Ray the Brave, right? And what were some words that y'all used to describe her? Mean, brave,
Scared,
afraid.
lonely,
Yeah, she was lonely at the end.
sad.
Okay. Okay, so today we're going to be reading Chester's Way. And it's by the same author, which is Kevin Hinks.
Chester's Way.
It's Chester's Way.
That's a new one.
And it's- Chester had his own way of doing things. He always cut his sandwich diagonally. He always got out of bed on the same side. And he never left the house without double knotting his shoes. Chester always had the same thing for breakfast: toast, jam, and peanut butter. And he always carried a miniature first aid kit in his back pocket, just in case. You definitely have a mind of your own. And Chester's mother, that's one way to put it, said Chester's father. So talking to your partner, what's one word that describes Chester? Talk to your partner. You don't have a partner?
Talk to Danica.
No, you talk to Danica.
No, it's Maria.
Garrett, talk to Maria. Kinsley, talk to Alan.
So y'all three talk to each other? No. Y'all
No,
talk to
it's them two, and you two. It's okay.
Anyway, I put
Chester. A word that describes Chester.
He does things on his way. What is Chester?
One word. Chester. Him. Who we're reading about.
Alan? You. Whichever one.
Okay, Michelle. What did Xander say?
I'm thinking.
You're thinking, you're still thinking.
too.
Teal, what did Aubrey say? One word that describes Chester.
He do stuff his own way and he can make his breakfast.
But is that a word that describes him?
Nope. I don't know.
Can anybody describe him?
Not me.
Oh, no. Isabel? Isabella.
Somebody here.
He does nice things? Okay.
What? I got 5 prizes. Miss D, how come you think I have 5 prizes? What? I thought she got what? They got 14. And Alan, you better put that wrapper back.
So Isabella said he does nice things.
Yeah, he might be mean.
He could be mean.
Got 2.
Chester's best friend Wilson was exactly the same way. That's why they were best friends. Chester wouldn't play baseball unless Wilson played, and they never swung at the first pitch or slid head first.
What does slid mean? It means you slide. Like this. Like I always do in the classroom. It's like where you have to slide. Yes, I do. Your tippy toe has to touch the base when you slide. No, your foot. You move right there. Your tippy toe. Sometimes you can come back up.
Okay.
I do that.
Wilson wouldn't ride his bike unless Chester wanted to, and they always used hand signals.
What is that?
When you use your hand to let people know that you're going to turn, hand signals. If Chester was hungry, Wilson was too, but they rarely ate between meals. Some days I can't tell those two apart, said Wilson's mother. Me either, said Wilson's father. Chester and Wilson, Wilson and Chester, that's the way it was.
The picture.
So do y'all have another word that can describe Chester?
Friend.
Is that the word,
Yes.
Danica?
Copy.
He's a copycat?
No.
Friendly. That's the word you're looking for.
How does he look like? And don't forget friend. Friendly and friend. That's the same word, friend. Friendly.
Friendly. That means that you're with friends with other people. Friendly. They love to go on picnics. Once, when Wilson accidentally swallowed a watermelon seed and cried because because he was afraid that a watermelon plant would grow inside him.
Hey, that's on Grandpa. Yeah.
That's Chester swallowed one too. Don't worry, said Chester. Now if you grow a watermelon plant, I'll grow one too. Chester duplicated his Christmas list every year and gave a copy to Wilson because they always wanted the same thing anyway.
Coffee. They're copycatters.
They're the same person.
No, I'm not.
Well, they're alike.
Yeah,
They like the same stuff and they act the same way. For Halloween, they always dress as things that went together. Salt and pepper shakers, 2 mittens and a string, ham and eggs. They really are 2 peas in a pod, said Chester's mother. Looks like it, said Chester's father.
Everybody keep saying Chester.
Chester. In spring, Chester and Wilson shared the same umbrella. In winter, they never threw snowballs at each other. In fall, they raked the leaves together. And in summer, they reminded each other to wear sunscreen so they wouldn't burn.
I never wear sunscreen. Me.
Chester and Wilson, Wilson and Chester, that's the way it was. And then Lily moved into the neighborhood. Lily. Lily had her own way of doing things.
Is she loud? Yeah. What is her?
So talk to your partner. What do you think is going to happen with Lily?
Wow.
All 3 of y'all can talk together.
Okay, we're ready. Okay, we're ready. We're ready. We said she was loud and she was mean.
You think she's going to be loud and mean?
Yep.
Eli, what did Easton say? It's going to be mean, Alan?
Okay. They're annoying. It's gonna be something mean.
It's going to be something mean?
Yeah, it's annoying.
Who do you think is going to be mean?
Lily.
Lily?
I think she's gonna be annoying.
You think she's going to be annoying?
I'm loud.
Okay. So Lily had her own way of doing things.
And then going to sleep.
She wore band-aids all over her arms and legs to look brave. She talked backwards to herself, sometimes so no one would know what she was saying. And she never left the house without one of her nifty disguises.
What is that?
It's like
a disguise.
so you can look like someone else.
It's like a costume.
It's on there. See?
It's on there. It's one of
That's
your
one of our
vocabulary
vocabulary
words,
words.
disguise. Lily waved at all the cars that passed by, even if she didn't know who was in them. And she always carried a loaded squirted gun in her back pocket,
A gun?
just in case, a water gun.
I thought you said
Mom.
Just in case.
Just in case.
It's okay.
Like just in case it's through the animal, you just watch. How about through the cat? No, it was the person coming at. How about through the cat that was me? Then you shoot it with What is that?
She definitely has a mind of her own. Another portion. She definitely has a mind of her own, said Chester. That's one way to put it, said Wilson. When Lily asked Chester and Wilson to play, they said they were busy. When she called them up on the phone, they disguised their voice and said that they weren't home. If Lily was walking on one side of the street, Chester and Wilson crossed to the other and hid. She's something else, said Chester. Looks like it, said Wilson. One day, while Chester and Wilson were practicing their hand signals, some older boys rode by, popping willies. They circled Chester and Wilson and yelled personal remarks.
What is that?
So they were screaming at them, being mean to them.
Gotcha.
Chester and Wilson didn't know what to do. Just when they were about to give hope, a fierce-looking cat with horrible fangs jumped out of the bushes and frightened the older boys away. Are you who I think you are? Chester asked the cat. Of course, the cat replied. Thank you, Lily, said Chester. You're welcome, Chester, said Lily. Thank you, Lily, said Wilson. You're welcome, Wilson, said Lily. I am glad you were wearing a disguise, said Chester. And I'm glad you had your sport gun, said Wilson. I always do, said Lily, just in case.
So they both have squirt guns in the back of pockets?
No, Lily has a squirt gun in the back of the pocket.
That's a long video.
A long video?
Oh, yeah.
Afterward, Chester invited Lily over for lunch. You have a muscle mouse coat, said Lily. Of course, said Chester. I do too, said Lily. Same here, said Wilson. Chester and Wilson cut their sandwiches diagonally. Lily asked Chester's mother if she had cookie cutters, and she made stars and flowers and bells. That's neat, said Chester. Wow, said Wilson. That night, Lily invited Chester and Wilson to sleep over. You have a nightlight, said Chester. Of course, said Lily. I do too, said Chester. Same here, said Wilson. Chester and Wilson wanted toast with jam and peanut butter for breakfast the next morning. Boring, said Lily. Try this instead. This is good, said Chester. Wow, said Wilson. So they put a little fruit on their little toast.
Oh no.
So what's happening?
They're becoming friends.
They're becoming friends. So do you think Chester and Wilson are changing?
Yes.
After that, when Lily asked Chester and Wilson to play, they said yes. When she called them up on the phone, they had pleasant conversations. And if Lily was walking on one side of the street, Chester and Wilson waved and ran to catch up with her. Chester and Wilson taught Lily hand signals, and she taught them how to pop willies. Lily taught Chester and Wilson how to talk backwards, and they taught her how to double knot her shoes. Some days I can't tell those three apart, said Lily's mother. Me either, said Lily's father. Chester, Wilson, and Lily. Lily and Wilson and Chester. That's the way it was. For Halloween, they dressed as three blind mice. For Christmas, Lily gave Chester and Wilson nifty disguises. And they gave her a box of multicolored shoelaces, extra long for double knotting. They loved to go on picnics. When Chester and Wilson told Lily about how they had each swallowed a watermelon seed once, Lily swallowed 3 for them. I'll grow a watermelon plant for each of us, she said. In spring, Chester and Wilson and Lily shared the same umbrella. In winter, they never threw snowballs at each other. In fall, they raked leaves together. And in the summer, they reminded each other to wear sunscreen so they wouldn't burn. Chester and Wilson and Lily. Lily, Wilson, and Chester. That's the way it was. And then Victor moved into the neighborhood.
Oh no. Victor died! Oh no! Victor died!
Okay, so is there any other words that you can describe Chester as?
No.
Would you say maybe he wasn't like another person?
Oh
He
yeah.
was kind.
Who was kind? Who was kind?
Chester.
Scared. I thought
Do you think he was special maybe?
Yeah.
He did things his own way?
Yeah.
So do y'all know another word for special?
Respect. No. Well, happy, friendly.
We have friendly. Okay, so we're just gonna put special.
No, it's on the same color pencil.
Okay, so now in your reading journals, we're gonna do what we did yesterday, but you have an option. You can either write about Wilson or you can write about Lily.
Lily. Why not Chester? No.
Because we already did Chester.
How do you spell Lily? No, I didn't get to do Miss Lily.
So we're gonna do Wilson
Kimmy.
or Lily.
Lily.
Okay?
L-I-L-L-Y.
This is in your reading journals. Go.
What?